Alright, I'm going to talk through the answers to the quizizz assignment from the other day. The first two questions were the difference between experimental probability and theoretical probability. This information came directly from your class notes right down there at the bottom. So theoretical is what is expected to happen or what should happen over time, and experimental probability is what actually happened. So you have to do an experiment first, figure out or make a frequency table of what actually happened, and that's the experimental probability. So on this quizizz, a good majority of you missed the first one, but then figured it out on number 2. So in theory, theoretical probability is what should happen. Experimental probability is what actually happened. Moving on to number 3. What is the theoretical probability of not landing on red? So there are 2 red spots out of 6 total, which is 2 out of 6, or 1/3. There was a good portion of you that chose letter B, 33%. That would be the same percentage as a third, but that would be the percent of it landing on red, and this one says not red. So these questions can get tricky. You don't want to read them too quickly. Make sure you see the word not. So that would be 66.7%, or 4/6, or 2/3. Number 4, the bar graph shows the results of spinning a spinner 200 times. What is the experimental probability of landing on a 3? So what actually happened in the experiment? Well, if we look here, a 3 came up 39 times out of the total of 200. So that should be letter A. Number 5, the arrow was spun 15 times and landed on a 4. Landed 4 times on the section labeled Q. So which statement is true? So in the experiment, it actually showed up 4 out of 15 times. So that's the experimental probability. Theoretically, though, what should happen is 1 out of every 5 spins, it should land on Q. So theoretical is 1/5, experimental is 4/15. Number 6, I want the theoretical probability of landing on a 4. So I really don't care what happened in the experiment, but in the long run, what should happen. And if you have an equal spinner with equal spots, it should land off on the 4 1 out of every 5 times. Those that chose 37/200, let me look back at here. That would be the experimental probability of landing on a 4, but in theory it's 1/5. A bag has 4 green, 3 red, 2 blue, and 1 yellow. What's the probability of pulling a red or a yellow? So there are 3 red and 1 yellow, so that makes 4 options out of the total. And there were 10 in the bag, so 4 out of 10 is the same as 2 out of 5. Number 8, most of you did fine there, so I'm going to skip that one. Number 9, jelly beans in a bag. What's the experimental probability of picking a red one? So we can see from the chart there are 11 red out of the total number here, which is 44. So 11 out of 44 is the same as 1/4. Number 10, the letters that form the word algebra are placed in a bowl. What's the probability of choosing a letter other than A? So those that chose A, 2 out of 7, that would be choosing an A, but I want anything else besides an A, so that is 5 out of 7. There are 5 other letters in the word algebra that are not A's. So you just have to read carefully. 11, most of you understood there's not a 7 when you roll the dice, so that chance has 0 chance of happening. And the last one, number 12, if 2 out of 10 people have green eyes, how many would you expect to have green eyes out of 320? So 2 out of every 10 people have green, which is the same as 1 person out of every 5. So you could take 320 divided by 5 and get 64